One of the questions I get all the time on this channel is, Michael, how can I pronounce words like you do? How can I improve my pronunciation so I sound clearer, more natural, and more confident? And that's what I want to talk to you about in today's video. Today, I'm going to tell you why your pronunciation is not as good as you want it to be, and I'm going to tell you how to fix that. So stay watching until the end. Now, first up, this is why your pronunciation is bad. You're opening your mouth the wrong way. Now, what do I mean by this? Every language has a different way of moving the mouth. For example, a Spanish speaker moves their mouth in a different way than a Mandarin speaker would. And of course, an English speaker moves their mouth differently as well. So if you want to improve your pronunciation and sound more natural when you speak English, pay attention to the way native English speakers move their mouth. Pay attention to how they move their lips, how they move their cheeks, and of course, where they position their tongue. I know this sounds obvious, but actually it's something that I see all the time. Students feel frustrated because they can't pronounce words in the way they want to. They hear them in their head, they know how they should sound, but they just can't get them out of their mouth. And it's simply because they're not opening their mouth, they're not positioning their mouth the correct way. And if you don't do that, obviously it's not physically possible to pronounce those words correctly. So whenever you're in a conversation with a native speaker, whenever you're watching my videos or other videos or movies or whatever, watch very carefully, pay careful attention to how the speaker is moving their mouth. And then of course, imitate it. I want to share with you a brutal truth. The way you learned English in school was wrong. And here's why. In school, you probably focused a lot on writing and grammar, but you probably didn't work a lot on speaking or pronunciation. And what does this mean? Obviously, your grammar and your writing will be stronger, but your speaking and your pronunciation won't be as good. And there's a good chance that you formed bad habits in school. And unfortunately, bad habits are very difficult to break. But the good news is it's still possible to break those bad habits. It just takes effort, it takes time, and it takes practice. I see this all the time, and students who learn English at school, which honestly it's most of the world at this point, I think, they find it very difficult to break those bad habits because maybe they didn't have a great teacher, maybe they weren't interested, maybe they weren't paying attention in school, and they learned pronunciation, they learned how to pronounce words the wrong way. And of course, it is difficult to break these habits, but it is possible if you're motivated enough. But it takes effort, and you have to pay attention in every conversation. You won't have to do this permanently, but for the next month or 2 months, if you've identified a bad habit, you need to make an active effort to break that bad habit whenever you speak. Again, it's only temporary. You won't have to do this forever. But the goal is to retrain your brain to pronounce things correctly, and eventually it will become second nature. It will feel natural to you. So, how do you improve your pronunciation? It's very simple. You become a parrot. What do parrots do? They listen and they imitate. They repeat. And you should approach studying English in the exact same way. If you hear something, repeat it. And repeat it as closely as possible to what you originally heard. This is also how children learn their first language. They hear something, they repeat it, and they internalize it. So maybe you watch my videos, maybe you watch English movies, repeat after me. Repeat after whoever you hear speaking. And that's really going to change the way you pronounce words. Okay, so I'm going to give you some more practical exercises in just a moment, but before we continue, make sure to leave a comment and subscribe to English at the Ready here on YouTube if you want to learn more about improving your English this year. If you want to study with me, the link to join our programs is in the description below. Now let's get on with the video and talk about some more practical exercises we can do right now to transform your pronunciation. This tip will improve your pronunciation forever. Pay attention to vowels. For example, cat, cut, hat, hut, foot, and food, plane, and plan. The key to sounding more natural in English and improving your pronunciation lies in the vowels. A, E, I, O, U. If you pay attention to vowels and you pronounce them correctly, your pronunciation will change forever. Earlier, I mentioned focusing on how native speakers open their mouths, how they move their lips, how they move their cheeks, where they position their tongue. And I want you to do this right now with me. We're going to learn some common vowels and the different ways you can pronounce them in English. But as we do this, I want you to watch me. I want you to look at my face and look at how I'm pronouncing these vowels. Ready? Let's go. First up, we have the short I and the long E sounds. Repeat after me. Ship, sheep, bit, beat, live, leave, sit, seat, fit, feet. You can see for the short sound, my mouth is almost closed. And for the long sound, I'm stretching my mouth as much as possible. It might feel a bit unnatural at first, but trust me, you really want to stretch this E sound as much as possible. Fit and feet. It often helps to exaggerate when you move your mouth like this, because probably if you're like most students, you might find it a bit unnatural, you might find it a bit uncomfortable even, but believe me, it's not unnatural to a native speaker like myself. You just have to get used to it, and if you do this, eventually you will sound very natural. Hopefully, if that's what you want, to the point where people won't even be able to identify that you have a bit of an accent. Again, there's nothing wrong with having an accent. I've talked about this before, but I know for a lot of you that is one of your goals, to improve your pronunciation so that you can pass as a native speaker. In any case, it's a good idea to improve your pronunciation just so people can understand you better. And let's continue working on this together now. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about the A and the sounds. Repeat after me. Cat, cut, bat, butt, hat, hut, bad, bud. You can see for the A sound, I'm opening my mouth and I'm almost moving a little bit. And for the sound, my mouth is closed. Next up, we have the short and the long sounds. Full, fool, foot, food, pull, pool. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I want to show you that the short sound is stopped almost, and the long sound is stretched, ooh, full, fool. We also have the A and the sounds. For example, name and nap, plane and plan, mate and mat, late and lap. A, stretch, A and A. Again, pay attention to how I'm moving my mouth. Now, these were just some of the most common vowel sounds in English. Of course, there are more, and some of these sounds do vary depending on whether you're learning American or British English, Australian or Canadian English. I'm Canadian, so I have a Canadian accent, which is very similar to the American accent. But regardless whether you're learning British, American, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, Irish, Scottish, whatever form of English, you need to focus on the movement and position of your mouth, because that will change the game for you. That will transform your pronunciation. And I think, if you're like most of my students, that's the missing ingredient. That's what's missing right now from your pronunciation. You're thinking about how the words should sound, but you're not thinking about how the words should actually look when it comes to the movement of your mouth. So focus on that. Your pronunciation will change. I hope you found this video useful. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to study with me, we have some great programs available. Click the link below to improve your English, and I'll see you in the next video.